Tonight, more grass fires bring a warning from the fire department. A long way from home, a Canadian who lives in the States says he's a victim of bureaucracy. We're getting older and living longer. How to make sure you have enough money to retire.
CFCN News with Ian White.
Good evening. Calgary's fire marshal is thinking about bringing a fire ban into effect. The tinder dry conditions have caused a serious fire hazard. This blaze in Beaumont Park in the Northwest today was one of 3 grass fires crews dealt with. The mild weather and lack of snow throughout December have combined to increase the fire risk. Investigators believe some of these fires were ignited when people tossed away cigarettes. The most potentially dangerous fire burned in the Springbank area. Early this afternoon, the flames came perilously close to a home. Neighbors jumped in to help firefighters douse the flames. However, the fire did damage 10 acres of grassland.
I'm Vicki Chase in the CFCN Weather Center, where we broke a record again today. 16.7 was our daytime high. And tomorrow, another nice day, a record breaker. Well, it looks like it won't be, but you just never know. Cooling off, though, in the extended forecast, Ian.
Thanks, Vicki. A former Calgary man is wondering if the U.S. government's anti-terrorism drive has resulted in a backlash against him. Brad Harris says red tape kept him from spending the holidays with his family. Harris has lived in Memphis, Tennessee for 6 years. He came back to Canada on business. But because of an oversight on his part, he can't go home. Jeff Little reports.
Brad Harris loves his home and native land, but he wants out. The former Calgarian now lives in Memphis, Tennessee, with his wife and 3 children. Harris came to Canada earlier in December to promote his new book. When he tried to go back to Memphis, U.S. immigration said no.
I was boarding a plane, or about to board a plane in Vancouver, and INS said, no, you're not going back for quite some time.
Waiting for his U.S. citizenship, Harris said he didn't know he needed to gain permission to leave the U.S. During the 6 years he lived and worked in Memphis, he never crossed the border. In a Memphis apartment thousands of kilometers away, Harris's American wife and his oldest American child wonder if he will ever come home.
I really do want my husband back. This has been very, very difficult. You know, money issues aside, I miss him. He is my best friend, and I really miss him a lot.
We were just sad because he wouldn't be here for Christmas. He probably won't be here for a long time, and it just hurts.
Trish Harris believes her family's dilemma is related to heightened tensions at the U.S.-Canadian border crossings, tensions that are a result of terrorism threats. Ironically, the protagonist in Harris's novel is a Canadian working in Memphis, a private detective who waited just 3 weeks for his green card. Green card or not, Harris just wants to go home.
To be with my family, to be able to work again in the United States, and to be home, because where my wife is my home.
Brad Harris will now reapply for permanent U.S. residency, but that application's on hold as the INS office doesn't reopen until next week. In the meantime, he has been warned that if he tries to enter the United States at any border crossing, he will be arrested. Jeff Little, CFCN News.
Harris has spoken with Calgary Reform MP Diana Blonsey, but he concedes there's little Canadian officials can do. City police have released the name of a teenager who was killed in a traffic incident yesterday. Police say 15-year-old Reynold Weisbach died in the crash. The car he was in went out of control, hit a utility pole, and flipped several times before landing on its roof. Weisbach and another 15-year-old boy in the car were thrown from it. The other teen was able to walk away. Police haven't said which underage driver was behind the wheel at the time of the crash. A survey says many Calgarians are getting the message about the need to change the way they get to and from work. Calgary's booming growth has put enormous pressure on the city's road system, and the closure of the Centre Street Bridge has further added to traffic woes. The city's Escape the Rush campaign urged people to change travel times, use city transit, telecommute, walk, cycle, or carpool to work. The survey commissioned by the city's transportation department says 36% of commuters have changed or plan to change their travel habits. Most of them are doing so by changing the time they go to work. The survey also found 17.9% of Calgarians use the transit system. That's up from 15.5% 3 years ago. A Conservative MLA wants Alberta cars and trucks to sport front license plates once again. The province got rid of the front plates in 1991, but Rob Lougheed says that makes it tougher for police to identify unsafe drivers. Michelle Jones reports.
They advertise. They have a message. They are non-existent. And it's been that way for 8 years. Back then, Alberta axed the requirement for front license plates. The government of the time said it would be a cost-saving measure.
They may say we're not, that you're going to give it for free or whatever. They'll just include it, but it's going to come. It's going to come someplace. You're going to have to double the amount of license plates that are out there. Therefore, someone's going to have to pay for it. So I'm tired of paying money.
But Tory MLA Rob Lougheed argues the time is right for 2 plates.
That gives a great deal of anonymity to people who may be up to no good.
The Tory representative says rural Albertans have been behind the move to get front plates back.
The people that were expressing concern about cars driving into their driveway, for example, and then backing out. And as soon as they noticed that somebody was home, and that's the speculation of the residents.
Do you know how much money actually the province has saved, if anything, since we've gotten rid of the plates?
That hasn't been part of my consideration. The concern here is, are the front plates a good idea to have them?
Vehicles that are involved in crimes or hit and run, other traffic-related activity, makes it that much more harder to identify the vehicle and therefore the owner or the operator of the vehicle, because you only have one chance at getting that plate.
To me, it doesn't really make any difference.
Why?
I just don't see what difference it makes whether you can see it from the front or the back.
A concern is acreage owners. I live out in Stony Plain, saying that people are driving into their front yard, seeing that their home is backing out again, and they don't know who it is. So I think it'd be an okay idea.
Lougheed will put forward his idea in a private member's bill. That may make it more difficult to receive the support of the legislature. Well, Canadian society will undergo a dramatic change in the next century. Baby boomers will become the elderly. On the second part of our look at seniors, we'll examine the cost of supporting them.
CFCN News, sponsored by Fitness Depot, Calgary's home fitness superstore.
The term the golden years has begun to take on a different meaning. Now it appears you may need gold, or at least some healthy mutual funds, to help pay for your retirements. In part 2 of our look at seniors, Norman Fetterly has a financial checklist and some advice on how to meet it.
2011, just 12 years from now. That's the date to remember, because that's when the first members of the baby boom generation, born in 1946, turn 65 and officially become seniors. Their retirement voyage, however, will barely be started.
People on average were spending 7 years in retirement only 20 years ago. Today, we're spending on average 21 years in retirement, 3 times longer.
And that means you'll need more bang from the bucks in your pension.
Oh, absolutely. We will see far more people relying on public and private pensions than ever before.
Bob McKay is 66. 6 years ago, he was downsized out of his job. But McKay and his wife, Shirley, were ready.
We were thrown into it very quickly without too much preparation, but fortunately, our planning allowed us to do it.
Today, he and his wife Shirley live comfortably in an adults-only complex north of Toronto. They have the income they need and don't think they're not busy.
There's lots of things to do. They have bus trips and scheduled trips to shows and outings of various kinds.
Michael McLean runs AgeWise, a think tank on aging. People like the McKays, he says, have dealt successfully with retirement's other challenge, how to move from adjusting to retirement to enjoying retirement.
We can adjust to situations in our lives that are difficult. We can adjust to ill health or a difficult situation at home or a difficult situation at work. We do not enjoy those activities. It's the same with retirement. We can adjust to retirement, but if we want to move into the enjoyment phase, we have to find ways that will give us great pleasure in the time that we have in retirement.
So when you reach the autumn of your life, your genes, your lifestyle will determine how long you live. But it's your financial planning that will determine how well you live. Mick Cohen is a pension expert with William Mercer Limited. Here's his rule of thumb calculation for what kind of gold you'll need in your golden years. Let's say you're now making $50,000 a year. Cohen says you'll want 70% of that to live comfortably, $35,000. The basic old age pension, or OAS, will give you about $5,000 a year. Some good news, the tax clawback of the OAS doesn't bite until your income reaches $53,000. The Canada Pension Plan should be worth about $8,000. That leaves $22,000. Finding that is up to you. Mick Cohen says recent boosts in premiums for the Canada Pension Plan should mean CPP payments will be there for the next generation of retirees. If your income is less than $30,000, says Cohen, you might just be able to get by supported by Canada Pension and the old age security payments. But middle-income Canadians will want to look to their pensions, if they have one, or savings and investments.
We reckon as a rule of thumb that for every dollar you need as retirement income, if you're not getting it from a pension plan or from the government, you need about, $15 to $18 of capital to provide, $1 of income. So if you need $10,000 of income, you're looking at $150,000 to $180,000 of capital. So that's a lot of money.
Those still in the working world may think they have things pretty much on track. The stock markets have been booming recently, and RSP mutual funds have gone along with it. But a low inflation world also means low interest rates, which could be an unpleasant surprise. Canadians now work hard at living longer, and it's working. But are we ready for the baby boom bulge that's heading for retirement?
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Well, people across Canada must be envious of the weather Calgary has had over the holidays. It remains warm but gusty right now. It's 10 degrees. Vicki will have the forecast coming up after the break.
Good evening. One more day. That's it. Will we break a record tomorrow? Not quite sure. 11 degrees for the forecast high. So it's another nice day, but chances are we'll see just near record conditions here. What we have is an area of low pressure that's resulting in some light flurry activity for the northern part of the province. That low will move off, and then we have a series of lows moving in. What they're going to do is erode this nice area of high pressure that's been protecting us and giving us these beautiful conditions. And as that happens, the jet stream will start to sag. We get into cooler air, and tomorrow, instead of a westerly wind, we'll have a northwesterly wind, and then that will continue as we cool off towards the extended forecast. The provincial forecast has some cooler conditions up to the north with some snow in the forecast. Grand Prairie, Peace Country, the warmer conditions overnight tonight, and then warmer again tomorrow. Wood Buffalo, Fort McMurray, and High Level, the cooler areas. And then Edmonton and Red Deer, you'll see a few clouds overnight tonight, and then again tomorrow with -3 in Red Deer, 4 degrees in Edmonton, 8 degrees for a high. And Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, slightly warmer for those of you in the Lethbridge area. 14 degrees for possible high, 9 degrees for Medicine Hat. The mountain parks, not a bad day once again with -8 and +1, great skiing conditions. The East Kootenays dealing with fog again tonight. Fog and cloud cover with temperatures of -8 and -4. A 30% chance of some light flurries for the East Kootenay region tomorrow. Our extended forecast, 11 degrees tomorrow, and then Thursday we drop to 5. New Year's -1 and then 4 degrees with some sunshine. Then as we head towards the end of next weekend, we look at 0, and 0 is even a little bit better than normal daytime highs for the end of December, and then possibly even warming up after that, Ian.
Thanks, Vicki. Turning to sports now, this is the time of year when the spotlight is on young hockey players.
Yes, the midget players. We will take you to day 3 of the Max Midget Tournament after this. Good evening. 2 Calgary teams were in action tonight at the Max Tournament. The Buffaloes met Thunder Bay at Father David Bauer Arena. Buffaloes were leading 2-1 when Brent Gibson adds to Calgary's lead, firing the puck in the net from the slot. It's 3-1 for the Buffaloes. The Thunder Bay Kings pulled to within a goal, but the Buffaloes regained their 2-goal edge with this goal, and it's 4-2. Thunder Bay, however, would rally to tie the game. Tarek Lebanon from close range evens the score at 4, but the Buffaloes do come back to get the game winner. They win it 5-4, And the Buffaloes are now 1-1. As for the Flames, they lost to Shattuck St. Mary's 9-3. Their record is 1-2. Earlier today, the Calgary North Stars took on Laval. Corey Young scoring a power play goal for Calgary. 1-0 for the North Stars. Next goal came even strength. It's the North Stars again. They make it 2-0, and they went on to win the game 5-2. North Stars improving their record to a win and a tie. As for Laval, they lose their first game of the tournament. UFA Bisons were blanked by North Battleford 2-0 earlier today. Swiss Nationals were unbeaten at 3-0 after defeating Alaska 8-1. St. Albert over Detroit Beltire 5-2. Prince Albert 10, Peterborough 3. Notre Dame defeats Leduc 6-5. Vale 3, Saskatoon 2. And Laval doubled Detroit Little Caesars 8-4. Phil Housley will head into the new year with a new contract. The veteran defenseman signed a 2-year deal plus an option with the Flames. Housley is 35 years old. He's a respected player who has been in the league 17 years. Now, he did have some other possibilities, but chose to stay with the Flames.
I didn't want to be going out exploring the free agent market right now. Personally, at the age I am in, and you know, the kids I have, you know, 4 kids, it becomes a difficult situation when you don't have a plan going into the summer, and not knowing where you're going to be, and people don't see that side of it, you know, trying to find a place to live, trying to find new doctors and schools. You know, those are the tough things, and right now everybody's enjoying themselves. I'm enjoying myself, and that's what that was the most important decision.
He understands, and his family, I'm sure, understands that he's wanted here and he's needed here, and as a result, he feels important here, and he's certainly respected, and that's very important as far as a family's understanding and of what's going on. They love Calgary, and obviously we have a lot of respect for Howard.
We've been working on this for a while, for a couple of months or more. I guess the initial thing was we wanted to make sure that it was going to be a good fit for all parties, and that he and his family clearly wanted to stay here and maybe actually finish their career here. They were obviously had other options. He would have been an unrestricted free agent at the conclusion of this season and could have chosen to play anywhere. But from our standpoint, it's a big signing. It's an important signing. He's a huge part of our hockey team.
Well, Keith Primo has turned down Carolina's final contract offer. A 2-year, $6 million deal wasn't what Primo was looking for. Meanwhile, the Hurricanes face Nashville. The Predators jumping out to a 2-0 lead on this goal by Randy Robitaille. The Hurricanes would get on the board with this goal from Gary Roberts. But Nashville would hold on to win the game 3-2 as they extend their unbeaten streak to 6 games. So it is Nashville with a 3-2 victory. Also tonight, Detroit over Buffalo 7-2. The Red Wings have won 9 of their last 10 games. Detroit leads the league in points, and it was the Rangers and Phoenix tying at 2. All teams had yesterday off at the World Junior Hockey Championships, but today 8 were in action, including Team Canada. The Canadians took on the Czech Republic. Canada would score first. It's Dan Heatley with a drop pass back to Brandon Reed, who fires the puck in the net. 1-0 Canada. Early in the third, though, the Czechs get the equalizer. Martin Havlik goes to his backhand, has the open net there, and it's tied at 1. That's the way it would end, as the Canadians have a win and a tie. They will face Slovakia tomorrow. In other games, Switzerland over Kazakhstan 5-1. Americans defeat Slovakia 1-0. Sweden over the Ukraine 6-1. As well, the Canadians improved to 2-0 at the Spangler Cup after defeating a team from Sweden today 6-5. The annual Pepsi Basketball Classic got underway today at SAIT. 8 teams competing in this tournament, which is into its 19th year. One of 3 games held today featured SAIT against King's University from Edmonton. SAIT would come away with the victory. The final score 85-78. Top scorer for SAIT was Jeff Wright with 21 points. And leading the way for the Kings was Russell DeVries with 33. 5 games will take place tomorrow starting at 12:30. Last game will be at 8:30, and SAIT will actually be playing in that 8:30 game tomorrow. In other games, it was Mount Royal over Nate, 85-55, and last year's champions from Kamloops were winners over Grant McEwen, 66-48. And finally tonight, a story on goalie masks and how they're made. Here's Christine Simpson.
This is what Jacques Plante wore 40 years ago when he was in net. Well, you better believe if you're an NHL goaltender today, the masks look a lot different, and this is where you come to get them. Greg Harrison. So is it true that you've made more goalie masks than anyone else?
How many I've made, I really couldn't tell you, but it's probably in the hundreds.
First NHL mask was
Jim Rutherford when he was with Pittsburgh. Basically was a blue mask that later got painted in Detroit colors when he got traded to Detroit. Hey, Chris, just lay down here. This is where it all starts. It's just petroleum jelly, just Vaseline. It's basically so the plaster of Paris won't stick. Actually, I did Wendell Young when he was with Pittsburgh in the parking lot of the Toronto airport, up in the circular parking lot, because the flight was delayed that they were on. I was supposed to do it at my shop, but there wasn't enough time, and that was the only way to do the mold, was to do it right there. Probably the most effective one was the one I did for Hayward in San Jose. That was an open shark's jaw. And the other one I liked was Darren Pang's, which was an Indian headdress. Force your head down towards the floor, and important, keep your eyes closed.
Okay, now tell me what you do with this now to make it into a goalie mask.
I will pour a positive of this mold. Then with clay, I form the shape of this mask. Then I form the shell itself, cut it out, sand it, finish it, paint it, and then add the foam and the cage, and about 45 to 65 hours working time later, you got a mask.
Not a very comfortable procedure.
Yeah, pretty awkward and uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as a puck in the face.
No.
Well, just about everyone learned about the theory of relativity in school, and that's part of the reason why Albert Einstein is the Time magazine Person of the Century.
Now you can...
The end of 1999 has brought an onslaught of lists, awards, and honors, and there's probably no more lofty honor than Person of the Century. Time magazine says the winner is Albert Einstein. Einstein is the father of modern scientific thought. But how much do we really know about him? Jeannie Mose has more.
His name has come to symbolize brains, or the absence thereof, as in, you're no Einstein. Does anyone know what Einstein did, Albert Einstein?
Some kind of formula for atomic energy, or...
The theory of revolution. He invented the theory of relativity.
And what's that?
It's,
You won't find that question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Too tough.
It's something that maybe 10 or 12 people in the world fully understand.
Walter Isaacson should know. His magazine picked Einstein as Person of the Century. What did Albert Einstein do?
He invented things.
Create electricity in that.
No, that was Thomas Edison. Edison, Einstein, at least he didn't confuse him with Frankenstein. Back when Einstein first introduced relativity, a British astrophysicist wisecracked
That only 3 people understood it, and he couldn't remember who the third one was.
A century later, Einstein's formula is like some half-remembered, never-understood ditty that's been drilled into us. E equals pi. No. E equals M. No.
E equals MC squared.
But then what's that mean?
Piece of out me.
And to hear Einstein himself explain it, as you can on the web, only makes things worse.
This very small amount of mass may be converted into a very large amount of energy.
I know E equals MC squared, and I know that Walter Matthau played Albert Einstein.
You're Albert Einstein. Thank you.
This is Professor Einstein, the smartest person in the world. Are they hanging?
Einstein had a sense of humor. Here he is sticking his tongue out at reporters on his 72nd birthday.
Very inviting, very approachable.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I bet he had cats.
We don't know about cats, but when it comes to Einstein's hair...
Mad scientist's hair. He should get a buzz cut.
We consulted someone more familiar with Grecian formula than Einstein's formula. Edward Green is the director at the Pierre Michel Hair Salon.
That hair in bad need of a deep conditioner and a blow dry, isn't it?
We did run across one guy with Einsteinian hair. Your hair a little bit resembles him.
Not my brain, though.
Yeah. Did you know his brain still exists?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Einstein was cremated, but his brain remained with a pathologist, still playing head games with us.
What did Einstein do? The pressure's on.
The theory of relativity.
Relativity.
So what is the theory of relativity?
Well, when you have babies, they're your relatives.
Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
Maybe some of us should go back to school.
Yeah.
That's all for now. Have a good night.
Good night.
We saved over $6